All right, so it looks like we've got a ton of stuff about Walmart here. You really want to understand this whole retail giant thing, huh?
Yeah, Walmart's one of those things you just got to think about, like convenience, affordability, and then all the impact. You know what I mean?
It's wild how they went from one little store in Arkansas to like the biggest company in the world.
Right, in just a few decades.
Yeah, crazy.
It's that everyday low prices thing they do
Mm,
that really shook things up. I mean, economists even call it the Walmart effect.
the Walmart
Yeah,
effect.
basically their whole expansion strategy and those crazy low prices, they kind of like reshaped how whole local economies work and how we all shop.
So it's like more than just cheap stuff.
Oh yeah, way more. It's strategic,
Yeah.
like they've been buying up all these smaller chains for like 60 years, regional stores, international stuff too. They just
Wow.
keep expanding and a lot of the smaller places can't compete.
I was reading in one of these articles about this thing called predatory pricing,
Oh yeah?
where they like basically price things so low, even at a loss, just to kind of squeeze out the competition.
Yeah, it's risky, but it's worked for them.
I bet.
But it does make you think about, is it really fair competition? What happens to the local economies in the long run?
Yeah, if all the small businesses go under, then we're stuck with less choice and maybe even higher prices eventually.
Exactly. And it also gives Walmart a ton of power, not just over shoppers, but over their suppliers too.
The article talks about this catch-22 for suppliers. They
Right.
want to be in Walmart, but they got to keep costs so low that they end up outsourcing and maybe even cutting corners.
It's a tough spot for sure. And it goes way beyond just the suppliers too. It affects the workers in those factories too.
Yeah.
They often end up working in pretty bad conditions, low pay, not a lot of protection.
That brings up the whole ethical sourcing debate. Like, can a company like Walmart really offer those super low prices and still be ethical, with their supply chain?
It's a huge challenge. They talk about Made in America and their sustainability stuff, but a lot of people say it's more for show than real change.
So it's like you want cheap stuff, but you also want things to be made ethically. It's hard to find that balance.
It all comes down to understanding the real cost of a product, not just the price tag, but the environment, the labor, the whole impact on communities.
This article also talks about some pretty concerning stuff about how Walmart treats its own employees.
Yeah,
I mean, they're the biggest private employer in the world, so a lot of people depend on them.
absolutely.
But there are always complaints about the pay and benefits and not a lot of room to move up.
There have been tons of lawsuits over the years. Unfair label practices, wage theft, discrimination, and they really crack down on people who try to unionize.
Wow.
There was this one case with a woman with Down syndrome who won a big settlement in a discrimination case.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, it seems like there are some deep problems there that go way beyond just low prices for shoppers.
It makes you wonder how all this affects the customers, too. I mean, if the employees are miserable and don't feel valued, it's gotta affect how they treat the customers.
For sure, it all kind of trickles down.
Yeah, like a domino effect.
Exactly. And with a company as big as a Walmart, those dominoes can fall pretty far.
I thought we were just gonna be talking about like shopping and stuff, but this is about way more than that.
Oh, yeah, way more. This is about economics, ethics, consumerism, globalization, the whole thing.
It's crazy how it all connects.
It really shows you how complicated things are in the world today.
And there are no easy answers.
Nope, but just talking about it, educating ourselves and each other, that's how we start to make things better.
So where do we go from here? I mean, what can people actually do to be more informed and make ethical choices?
That's the big question, and it's something we can dig into even more as we keep going with this.
Okay, let's take a minute to let all this sink in, and then we'll jump back into this Walmart world. So they're trying to fix some of this stuff, right?
Yeah, but it's like they're always playing catch up.
Hmm.
Take their sustainability thing, for example. They want to have like zero emissions by 2040.
Sounds pretty ambitious.
Yeah, but think about how huge their operation is. It's
This
massive.
got to be a nightmare.
All that transportation, the energy for their stores and warehouses, all the waste from packaging and stuff, it's a lot.
So, like, how do they make it sustainable and still keep prices down?
Exactly. And then there's always the question of, are they really doing it? Or is it just PR, for people who care about the environment?
Yeah, one thing that stood out in the article was that Walmart always scores pretty low on customer satisfaction surveys.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Do you think that's because of all this stuff we've been talking about?
I mean, it could be right if their employees aren't happy and they're doing shady stuff with their supply chain. It's got to affect the customers somehow,
Yeah, totally. Like, one thing leads to another.
like a domino effect.
Uh-huh.
And with a company as big as Walmart, those dominoes can be a long way.
It's kind of crazy. When we started this, I thought we were just talking about like a store.
Yeah.
But it's way bigger than that. It's about the whole economy ethics, how we shop the whole world.
It's like all the problems in the world wrapped up in one company.
And nobody has the answers.
Nope, but at least we can talk about it, learn about it, try to make things better.
So this deep dive has really made me think.
Me too. It's fascinating, isn't it, learning all this stuff?
Totally. And that's what makes these deep dives so interesting.
It looks like we're about out of time for this part.
Already, wow, time flies when you're talking about complicated stuff, but don't worry, we're not done yet. We'll be right back to wrap this up and give you some things to think about. Okay, so we've talked about how Walmart got so big and their impact on like everything and all the ethical stuff.
Yeah, it's been pretty eye-opening to see how those low prices really work.
So what's the big takeaway here for our listener who wanted to know about Walmart?
I think it comes down to this. Every time you buy something, you're kind of voting,
Voting for what?
like you're voting for that company, their values, how they do business.
That's a lot of power for shoppers.
It is, we have to be smart about where we spend our money.
So it's not just about getting the cheapest thing.
Right, you got to think about the real cost. Like, what about the workers, the environment, the whole economy?
Are we supporting good companies? Are we hurting the planet? Is it all about profit?
It's tough because there's so much advertising telling us to buy.
So it's about like resisting that urge to just grab the cheapest thing.
Exactly. Take a second, think about the bigger picture.
So when our listeners at Walmart or any store, what should they be thinking about?
Ask yourself some questions like, what does this company actually care about? How do they treat their employees, the people who make their stuff? What about their environmental stuff?
And then decide if you want to support them.
It's about putting your money where your values are. We can actually make a difference with the choices we make.
Being a smart shopper, knowing that our choices affect everything.
I think that's the big lesson from all this Walmart stuff.
It's been a wild ride for sure. We learned about this huge company and how everything's connected, and hopefully our listener feels like they can make better choices.
As always, subscribe to our channel, like the video, and comment below. There are also some links in our description that you may find useful.